Discover how Jesse Eisenberg's time in Zack Snyder's DC universe affected his career and why he considers it an embarrassing experience. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. Zack Snyder's vision for DC was an ambitious one. However, his Snyderverse ended up becoming one big fiasco with a little bit of memorable moments and a whole lot of misses. While some actors like Henry Cavill or Gal Gadot ended up becoming world-famous stars, others had their careers affected by starring in the franchise. One such actor is Jesse Eisenberg, who starred as Lex Luthor in Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. In a recent interview, the actor got candid about his time in the franchise and admitted how it negatively impacted his career. Jesse Eisenberg has enjoyed a pretty successful career and even has an Oscar nomination to his name. However, the actor feels his time in Zack Snyder's Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice had negative repercussions for his career. Starring as Lex Luthor, Eisenberg's portrayal is now hailed as one of the worst live-action versions of the iconic comic book villain. In a recent interview on Dax Shepard's Armchair Expert, the social network star got candid about his venture into the superhero-verse and stated, "I was in this Batman movie and the Batman movie was so poorly received, and I was so poorly received. I've never said this before and it's kind of embarrassing to admit, but I genuinely think it actually hurt my career in a real way, because I was poorly received in something so public." While his portrayal did receive pretty negative reviews, his professional life has been going pretty well. He produced the critically acclaimed documentary The World Before Your Feet, starred in the fairly well-received Zombieland, Double Tap, and recently earned 2 Golden Globe nominations for Best Actor in a Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy, and Best Screenplay for A Real Pain. Jesse Eisenberg's portrayal of Lex Luthor in Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice is widely regarded as one of the film's weakest elements and has been labeled by fans and critics alike as embarrassingly bad. While Luthor is supposed to be this suave, calculated, egoistic genius with charisma and intellect, Eisenberg's version is eccentric, awkward, and twitchy, lacking any gravitas. One of the key criticisms was that Eisenberg's performance was disjointed and quirky, feeling out of place for a film as dramatic as Batman vs. Superman. His rapid-fire dialogue and erratic mannerisms made it seem forced, leaning more toward Joker's chaotic energy rather than the manipulative businessman he is. His young age and lack of masculine characteristics and look further made him a bad Lex Luthor. Moreover, fans also had issues with the way the actor responded to the criticism. Instead of accepting that his portrayal was lacking and murky, Eisenberg went on to state that he just wanted to make these people real and relatable and interesting and engaging, not just, a surface bad person. Well, suffice to say, fans did not love the explanation. Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice is available to be streamed on Max. The X-Men are not your average superheroes and deserve a more grounded approach in the MCU as well. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. The MCU's new darlings, the X-Men, exist in a variety of comic universes, simultaneously with superheroes. However, on one hand, while the superheroes are almost religiously looked up to and seen as saviors, the X-Men have historically been subject to constant oppression and bigotry. In the vast expanse of the mutants, the lack of acceptance from humanity has been a continuous underlying theme, which has brought countless fans to a very logical question. If in the Marvel Universe, superheroes are almost gods, why are the X-Men looked at as outsiders? Why do they have to bear the brunt of society and be ostracized and hunted on a regular basis? That concept, alongside the mutants, has not yet made it to the MCU. However, if dealt with expertly, it presents unlimited potential to Kevin Feige and company. Pulling this off will ensure that not even Zack Snyder, the new DC Universe and everything, can compete with Marvel, which will be down to not just nostalgia, but also to this potential efficient pulling off of a storyline that resonates with everything the mutants are all about. Yes, we know that so are superheroes. However, while superheroes have always been seen in the Marvel Universe as protectors of humanity, the X-Men have often been seen as the replacement for humanity. That has also not been helped by the fact that rogue mutants such as Magneto and the Brotherhood of Mutants have often acted against humanity. Furthermore, while superheroes are merely, individuals with superpowers, the concept of mutants draws parallels from a range of real-world communities and examples. From their debut in Uncanny X-Men No. 1, 1963, by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, the X-Men have been symbolic of marginalized groups. Their stories draw parallels with real-world struggles, notably the civil rights movement. While teams like the Avengers bask in public adoration, the X-Men endure scorn and bigotry due to their involuntary genetic mutations. This dichotomy underscores a critical theme: fear of the unknown. Unlike other superheroes, the X-Men cannot choose their powers or appearance, making them perpetual outcasts. Senator Robert Kelly's anti-mutant rhetoric in the comics exemplifies the pervasive societal fear, mirroring historical and contemporary bigotry. This theme of otherness is central to the X-Men's narrative. Via Luthor, this not only makes the X-Men and the overall world of mutants much more than your average superheroes, but it also presents an obvious, endless opportunity for the MCU. Uncontrolled powers, cultural scapegoating, actual physical changes, and the fact that mutants have historically been involved in negative events as well, or at least accused of the same. All of these also have played a factor in the hatred the X-Men have to suffer from. There are obvious and completely deliberate similarities between mutants in Marvel and actual marginalized communities throughout the history of humanity. This, on its own, gives Marvel a chance to craft an emotionally charged narrative that addresses themes of discrimination and acceptance. The X-Men can serve as a lens to explore contemporary issues like racism, xenophobia, and prejudice, providing a stark contrast to the optimistic unity often portrayed in superhero films. If the MCU delves into why mutants are feared, it can redefine the superhero genre. Storylines like Days of Future Past or The Fall of Mutants could be adapted to show the lengths governments and societies go to suppress perceived threats, offering viewers a compelling, thought-provoking experience that not only ensures that the concept and the actual discourse related to X-Men is brought to the big screen, it also blows away competition and ensures that the MCU becomes much more than what it is at present. Discover why one Man of Steel scene is widely criticized and how Zack Snyder should not be blamed alone for the poorly executed moment. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. Out of all Zack Snyder's Snyderverse movies, Henry Cavill's Superman debut, Man of Steel, is considered one of the best out there. From its pacing to structure, it is generally regarded as one of the top DC movies as well. However, that does not mean the film is without any faults, for comic book fans have a bone to pick with one particular scene of the film with the infamous tornado. A scene that ended up becoming pivotal for Clark Kent's superhero identity. Fans have been blaming Zack Snyder for ages over it. However, Snyder is not the only one to be blamed for the fiasco. Hailed as one of the best Snyderverse films of all time, Man of Steel might be a great entry into the Geekverse, but it has its own faults that continue to haunt fans even years after its release. One of its most controversial scenes was the infamous tornado scene that occurred during the teenage years of Henry Cavill's Clark Kent. The scene begins with Clark, his father Jonathan, and his mother Martha Kent driving on a highway when suddenly a huge destructive tornado appears out of the blue. One thing leads to another. Jonathan ends up dying after being trapped by the tornado and declining Clark to help him since he believed he wasn't ready and the world wasn't ready for his powers. Meant to serve as a pivotal scene that emphasizes the theme of personal restraint and the burden of responsibility that Clark must carry as Superman. For years, fans and critics have criticized Zack Snyder for creating the poorly conceived scene. However, while Snyder carries the majority of the